One, two, three. Boom. And we're talking about Death Note. 10 out of 10 anime. And I don't screw around when I give numbers like that. So if I say it's a 10 out of 10, that's what I'm giving it. Now, there will be spoilers. You've been warned. So, I just finished it. Came out in what, like 2006, 2007, something like that. I've been watching anime my whole life. The reason why I like Death Note so much is because it's murder, it's mystery, it's thriller, it's not heavy on like the aspect of what you would think is like an anime like superpowers and things like that. Now, obviously, the Death Note itself is a superpower, but you can watch this and say other than the um Shinigami, there's really no like woo woo stuff, except the Death Note, obviously, and killing people. But like that's it. Like there's no monsters, there's no creatures, there's no like superpowers and Kamehamehas being blasted, and yeah, you get what I'm saying, right? So what I love about this show. So I'm a big fan of Dexter. I don't know if anybody's seen Dexter. It's a human show. It's a murderer. He kills bad people. Thing about this is Light Yagami is like almost the same, right? He's killing people that deserve to die because they're evil people and they're doing bad things to the world. But what's tricky about shows like this and why I love Dexter is like it's so weird. It's mind bending, making you root for the killer because killing's not good, and rooting for anybody killing other people is not good either. But some people that are doing evil in the world shouldn't be doing evil in the world. Now, the one different thing about Dexter and Light Yagami is Dexter went about his day, he did his stuff. Light Yagami looked at himself as a god and was trying to become one, and that's never good either. So I don't know. It's just that weird mental gymnastics that you do with yourself when you're watching one of these shows where you're rooting for the killer. And so this show was had so many ups and downs and so many times where I was just like, what's going to happen next? I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm making food, here at the house. I'm watching Death Note. Before I go to bed, I'm watching Death Note. When I get done streaming, editing content, I'm watching Death Note. Sometimes watching it when I'm editing content. And it's this show that just kept me engaged. Um, and I'd say the only time that there was a little bit of a down spot for me was after he went to jail, or like right after he went to jail, and he lost his powers and he gave up the death note. It was like him, L, and the police department. I didn't really understand what was going to happen there, and I didn't know um uh to obviously we find out in the end it was all his plan. He got his death note back, things like that, and I loved how that unraveled and how that all happened. But I just didn't know. I was like, wait, is the whole killing and is the whole death note, is this just kind of all over? And now we're like, I didn't know what was coming, and I thought like, oh man, like it started off so good for 8, 9, 11, 10 episodes. And I was like, man, don't take a dip and then just never come back up. And it surely came back up. And so it was just one of those shows that were really cool. Light Yagami is probably one of my favorite characters in anime that I've ever seen. I think the artwork style that they decided to take in this show, it kind of reminded me, because it's an older anime, it has that older style of artwork. And look, man, I'm a big person that loves older anime styles. Like I love One Piece's art style back in the day. I love it. I don't think it needs to be remastered. Um I love the Cowboy Bebop. I love old anime art style cuz I just like that. Um Same with TV shows nowadays or movies. Like I love things that were like 2010, even more so like early 2000s and before, because it doesn't look so real. Like movies today on these OLED TVs and 4Ks and things like that, like it looks realer than real. So it takes sometimes it like yeah, that's just what I have to say about that. So that's that little side note, but I just love this show, man, and I thought it was the characters were great. I think it was really cool how they were able to incorporate fast cutscenes and wicked styles. So, like Light Yagami would, the way he would like write his names, and when he would really, really get going at it, and he would just like and etch, and it would be like this. They did throw in anime combat and anime style, and the only way they could do that was making somebody write with a pen really fiercely, and aggressively, and cutscenes and effects on the screen, like and music that got you pumped up. So I thought that was kind of cool, because there really wasn't any other parts. I mean, actually, when L and Light Yagami were battling a little bit, when they were fighting, but loved L. Great character. Just loved this emptiness that he had a part of him, but just this realness a part of him, and this he tells the truth and just kind of analyzes things, and he's more analytic than he is emotional, and not necessarily soulless, because I mean he just is direct about the things that he says. And then obviously his successor Near, which I thought was really really crazy when they brought that whole story in, and Mellow. I thought Near was great. Really really loved the scene when there was a bunch of dye, and they were like, it was like House of Dye, so that was crazy. uh loved Loved when they brought his girlfriend in. What was her name? Miss Missa, Miss Misia. And when they brought her in, she was like this gothic figure. Uh, Ryuk was an awesome, Shinigami. Uh, I thought it was really cool. I didn't know what the girlfriend, was going to be like at first, but then they ended up turning her into a pretty sweet character, and how she would play dumb, but then she was also super in love with Light. And then, so that was cool. And then later on, they brought the old girlfriend in, and I love how he ended up passing over the torch to Teru, I believe is his name. I'm looking at my iPad, so I'm just looking at some of the different characters and stuff like that, just to, stay fresh. Teru coming in and taking over for him and writing the things in the Death Note, which I thought was, I had a foreshadowing that this might be his downfall when you let somebody else into your operation. One thing about Misa that I didn't necessarily think was a downfall, but kind of had that same feeling, but ended up not being too much of a downfall, was just the fact that she didn't seem like she seemed like completely on the other end of the spectrum when it came to somebody that should be holding on to the Death Note. And when she got hers, I was like, man, how is this gonna play out, right? But it ended up turning out all right. But when Teru took over and we learned his backstory and how he is obsessed with, Light, and did see him as God, and then he had his whole weird thing where he was okay with his mother dying, like that was fucked up. Uh, it, it, but I was like, man, when you bring somebody else into an operation, sometimes, and he was a smart guy and stuff like that, but I was just like, man, like I don't know what's gonna happen here and how this story ends. But sure enough, you could say Teru, if I'm saying his name right, you know how I'm talking about. You could say he was the downfall of Light coming to an end, but really, I mean, Light decided to put him in that situation. So him going to the bank for a second time to put the Death Note in there, yeah, a mistake on Teru's part, but at the end of the day, Light still chose him and has to take accountability for that. And then another question that I actually had, so the way that Light dies, he dies on the stairs, sun shining through that window of the warehouse. uh Peaceful, not as peaceful as a beach at the top of the mountain, but hey, still peaceful in its own sense, right? um Ryuk, when Ryuk, uh obviously he said, I'll be the one to write your death. So I wonder, because I don't think this got answered, unless somebody can answer this in the comments for me. I wonder, you guys like my hoodie, dude? Sick. I love the Tokyo Japan culture. Like that's the first place I want to go, outside of America. But anyways, United States. Side note. But Ryuk, so did he, at what point, okay, so when you write in the Death Note, you can write how somebody dies, right? So you can write how somebody dies, and you write everything of how they die. It could be, for instance, this pedestrian, I know their name and their face. I want them to walk across the street at this corner and then get hit by a car, right? I started that death for that person, or I started the death for the person at that corner of the street. So how, at what point of Ryuk writing his death did that start? Did it start at the warehouse? Did Ryuk plan the whole Light Yagami would think that he was gonna, correctly kill everybody in that warehouse, and when the time ran out, it was gonna go wrong. Then he was gonna scream, and then he was gonna act like kind of like a baby, right? Which I didn't really like that too much. How Light just freaked out at the end. But you know what? Like for a guy that just thought he was God, I mean, he kinda acted crazy as hell at the end there, but I expected nothing less when you get to thinking about it. You could say, like, "Man, he kinda acted like a bitch," but then at the same time, I mean, his whole world just came crashing down. He had no idea, no thought process that he was ever gonna lose that game against Nier and L, but, did Ryuk write that into how he would die? And then him getting shot 3 or 4 times and then making his whole when did it start? Or did Ryuk just write in, um he would make his way to, an empty warehouse, lay on the stairs, and then the sun would shine through. And you know what I mean? Like that's why I wonder, and we never really got that answer. I don't know if anybody else thought about that too. Um, this thing is, I want this to like show you know, the T, but we're just going Koyoko or whatever. Anyways, but yeah, no. So a little bit more into uh the ending there. So the ending was kind of crazy, right? I thought it was well. Let's actually just talk about. Well, yeah, let's talk about the ending. We can talk about the ending. We got a little bit of time here. Let me not rush anything. I just thought it was crazy how right there at the end, because I was on the side of like, oh shit, Light's gonna win this. Because again, Light had killed a couple of people that didn't deserve to be killed throughout the middle of the show, and so that made me not want to root for him at the end there to survive. I mean, I was rooting for him to survive because of course I was like, man, we've fallen in love with this character. Of course I want to see him survive this and not get, detained. Oh, and I'm also really happy that his dad died thinking that he wasn't, Kira. So that's always good, right? Um Helps you go to, you know, move on in life, to the next life a little bit easier. But so I didn't want of course I wanted him to not get caught, but there's also that part of me is like once he killed a few people that didn't deserve it, that's when he started having to go like, oh man, he is doing justice and things like that, but he does actually have a couple of stats on his scoreboard that were not right. But anyways, and then when he named the crime at the end again, getting you to kind of root for him, we're thinking, 70% crime rate down, all this other stuff. But um, what was the part I was trying to say before that? I get sidetracked and I'll go off into little tangents. It's all right though. Uh, I was saying Light died. I just wanting him to not get caught. But anyways, what was super super intense was there at the end when he was like when he was setting up the plan and then he was counting down the 40 seconds and he was like 35, 36, 37, and it went to 40 and then Light's like I win near or I win L whatever he had said and I think that's when I'm pretty sure that's either when the mid episode happened or when the episode ended, whichever one. I think it was end episode or mid episode. Either way, it cut you off, and of course you're binge watching on Netflix. You can watch it through; it's no big deal. But just that little pause and then having to wait to come back, it was like, oh my god. My heart is beating. Not only did it just make it sound like he won the situation, but we do not know if the other 6 people are about to drop. You know what I mean? Dead. And so then it comes back and it goes a little bit past and it doesn't and they don't drop and um yeah, it just hell breaks loose, man. And he just starts losing his mind. And Nier's like, "Yo, yeah, we told you that was the fake death note." And he's just like, "What?" He's screaming and the look on his partner's faces that were just kind of just looking at him in disbelief, disappointed, but just staying stern, like just that look of disappointment, disbelief, and finally it's come to an end, just all wrapped up in one. His partner's just looking at him, and it panning the camera to them, and it was a crazy moment, and you could just see it on Light Yagami's face, and his through his actions and expressions. He was just losing it, man. He couldn't handle the fact that he had gotten caught, and yeah, crazy. And then what's his name? The younger cat, like kind of the silly younger guy, on the squad, shot him a couple of times, and that was crazy. You know what I mean? Shot him in the hand first, then shot him like 6 times or 5 times. Like in the chest, stomach, leg, this and that, and it was just wild. And he was able to get out of there and made his way all the way to wherever, and then yeah, just a wild ending. Just a wild ending. Wild ending. And of course, it makes sense that they had to kill off Light Yagami because uh there was never any more. There's no more Death Note after this. It's never been something that's out there. There's not another season, nothing like that. Now, I do know that they came out with the live action. I actually watched that a while back, and I'll say the live action was nothing like the show. Um, I like the anime much better. Now, just going back to kind of some of the other parts in the show that were pretty crazy. I think somewhere around like season or somewhere around episode 8 and 9, man, what happened in that area? I can't remember. I have the worst memory when it comes to things, man. And I literally just finished watching this like 2 days ago, like a day or two ago. And, you know, 8 8 and 9. I know there was something crazy that happened dramatic. Like I think him and L meeting or somebody, yeah, I think just L's plan coming undone. And I love the chess, the mental chess that these two were playing against each other, Light and L. I really loved that part of the show. I loved the puzzle and the one upping each other and the one trying to do better than the other and setting traps and doing this I enjoyed that thoroughly. I enjoyed that mental gymnastics of what's going to happen next, who's planning what, and then you started to kind of think like L. You started to kind of think like Light Yagami, and it became this game, and it was fun. And oh, even when it was really really awesome to see when they put the cameras in the house and the recordings and stuff like that. When Light put the little TV in the like chip bag, that was pretty crazy. I think Ryuk ended up counting like 64 cameras or something, and so he was able to do that with the little chip camera in the chip bag. So that was crazy. And then it was just, I don't know, it was just a really awesome show. I didn't know what to expect when I watched it, other than I knew there was this death book, there's notebook that killed people, right? And somebody would write names in it. That's about as much as I knew, because I had forgotten what the live action was all about. I knew what it was about. I'm one of those people that, like, the only thing I'm usually thinking about is a little bit of my past when I want to think about certain things in the past. Um, the current, making sure everybody that I love is safe and good, and everybody's good in life, and then just thinking and planning for the future. And you know what I mean? Like, I'm one of those people that just kind of do things, and then I forget about the past. I mean, I do and I don't, but anyways, this isn't about me. This is about Death Note. So yeah, I had just forgotten what Death Note was kind of about, other than you write names in a book and someone dies. So it was refreshing to be able to watch this and not have too much. Let's see if we can bump this brightness up just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Lighting's changing. I have two south windows here, and today's actually not too bright. It's been forecast. It's been no rain, no sun, but yeah, kind of just gray. So, anyways, Death Note, 10 out of 10 for me. I would recommend anybody to watch it. It's hard to say that now after I've gone through all this, and if you're watching this far, you've already heard all the spoilers and what happened. So maybe you wouldn't go watch it, but I would still insist that you do go watch it, even if you've heard all these spoilers and haven't ever watched it. I really love this, man. I really love this. But yeah, just a really good show, and I want to do more of these. I watch a lot of different anime, and this is one of those things that definitely, when I get finished watching shows, I will tell you about my thoughts on them. And the other thing I want to do too is maybe go over some of the other animes that I've already finished and watched. Um, I'll have to recap those and then just give some opinions. But that's something you're going to see here on this channel too. It's not just going to be about gaming. There'll be some life stuff. There will definitely be anime stuff from time to time, and yeah, it's all part of the Moon Man experience. So hopefully you enjoyed it. And this was my spoiler Death Note review. 10 out of 10. Really loved all the characters, loved all the artwork, loved the mysterious, loved everything that was mysterious about it, loved the dark, the light, loved the theme, the story, uh, the chess, like I said, the mastermind of the chess games these two were playing, Light Near 3, Light Near, and L. It was a really good show. It was better than I expected it to be. And I thought it would be good, but it actually exceeded a lot of my expectations. Kept me on the edge of my seat like I said earlier, and it was really really good. So yeah, that's my review. It was very good. But either way, peace. Appreciate y'all. Continue to watch these, and if you're an anime fan, let me know what you thought of Death Note. And I'll do some more reviews. So peace. Thank you guys. Oh yeah, like, share, comment, do all the cool stuff that you do when you like somebody's video.